We gaan samen kijken naar 3 waargebeurde horrorverhalen die zijn gebeurd in de zomer. En zie je het licht? Het licht is rood. Dat is voor extra spooky en zo, weet je wel. Ik neem wel wat te drinken hoor. Stay
Summer
hydrated.
is the greatest season by a long shot. That's a hill I'll die on any day. My love for the summer doesn't revolve around partying or drinking as you may expect, but nature. Warmer weather and the outdoors are inseparable in my opinion, and I guarantee you that when the heat rolls through, I spend more hours outside than inside.
Ja, hè.
It was a warm night in mid-June, a few summers ago when this happened. I was 17 or 18 at the time. For context, there's a massive nature preserve near my house. When I say massive, I mean it.
Zei daar nou iemand massive? Oké, sorry.
It's close to 1,000 acres in size. To this day, there are still parts of it that I'm positive I haven't explored. 2 of my friends and I agreed to spend a night camping in those woods. Technically, camping there was strictly forbidden and borderline illegal, but we figured that there was no chance someone would catch us in this dense forest.
Nee, vast niet.
We just have to trek as deeply as possible. Chuck was the camping fanatic of the group. I'm telling you, this kid loved cosplaying as a Boy Scout and probably knew close to 100 different knots.
Sorry hoor, maar als je ervan houdt om je te verkleden als scouting mannetje, dat is wel echt triest.
Our other friend Jackson always supplied the drinks. If
Lekker
we were
man,
sober,
Jackson.
he was unhappy. That's just how things went when Jackson was involved.
Oh.
I remember the feeling of the
Niet
gentle
lekker,
summer
Jackson.
breeze blowing through my hair as the 3 of us packed up Jackson's car. The weather was ideal, not too cold, not too hot. A few beers later, the 3 of us found ourselves lugging camping equipment through the woods at like 11:30. I can't lie, I was feeling the alcohol start to hit me as we marched along.
Ja, dat kan ik wel begrijpen,
Chuck
vriend.
always carried this industrial-grade flashlight with him, so the darkness of the forest wasn't much of an issue. As much as I enjoyed the outdoors though, traversing through thick woods at this hour was a bit creepy, even with Chuck's flashlight on hand.
Waarom ga je dan ook waarom ga je in de avond dan het bos in? Waarom niet gewoon lekker wanneer het schemerig is? Waarom ga je wanneer het donker is het bos in om te kamperen? Dan ga je toch gewoon in de middag? Of zeg ik nou wat geks?
After close to half an hour of straight walking, the 3 of us found ourselves in a small, flat clearing that was an ideal spot to set up camp. We pitched our tent as per Chuck's instruction and set our chairs up. The fire was the next step. Chuck once again took the lead on this, and after a few more minutes, we had a pretty decent fire going. Jackson reached into his bag and tossed me another drink.
Lekker.
He then grabbed his JBL speaker and started playing some music.
Oh, deze gaan er echt voor,
The
hè?
vibe was
Peukje erbij.
perfect, and we must have been talking and drinking for a good 2 hours. We were all pretty drunk at that point, and I could tell the other guys were just about ready to pack it up for the night. Jackson turned the music down and started collecting discarded beer cans. Just then, a deafening whistle pierced the silence.
Wij beloven dat verzekeren anders
Verdomme.
A deafening whistle pierced the silence.
Koude eng.
I nearly jumped out of my seat, going from drunken haze to high alert in a matter of seconds. I don't know how to describe it. The whistle was abnormally loud, but still sounded distant.
Bro, dat is kapot
Jackson
eng.
quickly shut the speaker off, and the 3 of us sat in silence as we exchanged concerns.
Bro, je weet toch wel dat gevoel? Dat je dan alleen thuis bent. En dan hoor je iets, denk je. Dus dan ben je gewoon stil. En je durft niet te veel geluid te maken. Je durft niet te veel te bewegen. Omdat je denkt, wat als het wel iets of iemand is. En dan kijk je zo om je heen. Dat is al koude eng. Bro, besef als dat gebeurt in een bos. Als iemand naar je fluit in een donker bos.
Looks. I could feel my heartbeat pounding through my chest. We sat there, frozen in place for what seemed like forever, listening intently to our surroundings.
Bro,
But there
koude
was
eng.
nothing. It almost seemed quieter now than it had when we first got there. Like eerily quiet. Not even the normal wood sounds you come to anticipate. I used that time to play my memory of the whistle back in my head. It definitely wasn't an animal's noise. The best way I can describe it is a standard whistle you'd hear at a ballpark.
Bro, dat is
Chuck
echt
finally broke
tandtoe
the
eng, ouwe.
silence, quietly urging us to pack up and leave.
Ja, hè.
Jackson and I
Spullen
disagreed
pakken,
with
vriend.
that plan, though. We might risk encountering whoever made the noise, which I was beyond terrified of. It was past 3 a.m. at this point. An encounter this late would only mean trouble. Chuck hypothesized that whoever made that noise was probably aware of our presence, which was a chilling thought.
Bro, het is echt totaal niet chill als je weet dat iemand jou ziet, maar jij ziet hen niet. Ik krijg echt kippenvel.
I didn't know what to do. On one hand, staying put violated every survival instinct I had. Packing up and leaving at this hour didn't seem like a much better option either, though. We finally agreed to wait it out. I went to put the fire out, Chuck cautioned
Wacht even, dus in plaats van dat jij denkt, we pakken onze shit en we rennen weg, dacht jij, we blijven. Ah ja.
But Chuck cautioned me against it, saying that a fire would repel any dangerous animals. Only then did the true gravity of the situation smack me in the face. We were literally miles away from any civilization. It was 3 a.m. and there was an unknown entity somewhere in the darkness.
Ew.
Another 10 minutes or so passed, and we had resumed talking, but at a much lower volume with no music. I don't think any of us felt safe going to sleep just yet, though. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. Something small flew over the darkness of Jackson's shoulder and landed directly in the fire. It was a firecracker. I screamed bloody murder as it started sparkling in the fire, and Chuck cursed as he sprung up out of his chair and bolted into the darkness.
Bro, dan schrik je toch helemaal
Jackson
kapot.
and I scrambled to follow, leaving all of our stuff behind. We caught up with Chuck, whose flashlight was beaming wildly through the woods as he frantically sprinted. We ran until we couldn't anymore.
Oké, ze gingen wel weg. Kijk, beter.
Up. Chuck shut the light off and the three of us stood there, panting, trying to figure out if we were being followed. To my surprise, it didn't seem like anyone followed us. I don't think I've ever been so afraid, though. Why in the world would someone have done that? We needed to figure out what to do. Jackson wanted to just find our way out of the woods and never come back, but Chuck was reluctant to leave all of his camping gear behind. Plus, he reminded us the fire was still active. I was dumbfounded.
Als je in een bos zit en iemand gooit ineens een pak met fucking knalerwten over je heen tegen een fucking, hoe noemen we zo'n ding? Kampvuur aan. Dan dash je hem toch als een gek dat bos uit. Dan denk je toch niet, ah shit, mijn kampeerspullen liggen er nog. Die heb ik echt even nodig.
I was dumbfounded. How could he be concerned with forest fires after what had just happened?
Bro, fuck dat bos.
Eventually, I agreed with Chuck that we should at least check on the site. After all, no one had actually chased us. So there was a slight possibility that whoever threw that firecracker was just playing a cruel prank. Chuck was a navigational expert and was actually able to retrace our footsteps. I could make out the glow of the fire as we quietly approached. Before I could get any closer, though, Jackson put a hand in front
Ik word helemaal
and pointed with a horrified look on his face. I strained my eyes to make out the sight in the distance. What I saw is probably the most terrifying thing I'd ever laid eyes on. There were 3 people sitting motionlessly in our chairs like statues. The one whose face I could see looked lifeless and his mouth was hung open. I was afraid to move. What were they even doing? I thought, realizing that they weren't even talking. This was not normal. The 3 of us watched for a little.
This was not normal. Nee, hehe, dat heb ik ook wel door, maat.
The 3 of us watched for a little while longer before deciding to back off. We turned to leave, but Jackson's foot clipped a rock, causing him to curse in frustration.
Oh my days.
Within seconds, the glow from the fire abruptly went dark, as if it had been covered with a cloak. It was freakishly fast. We didn't stick around another second.
Bro, rennen.
We again sprinted away from the site.
Yeah.
But this time, we could hear footsteps crashing behind us.
Bro, oh
we didn't
my
stop
days.
this time. We bolted out of the woods and ran all the way to Jackson's car.
Oh,
By
this?
some miracle, we weren't followed out of the woods. None of us spoke on the drive back. Each of us lost in our thoughts. The next day, Chuck insisted we return to the site in the daylight to collect his belongings. Jackson wanted nothing to do with that, but I agreed to accompany Chuck. After some searching, we eventually found the site, which looked mostly untouched.
Oh, ze zijn nog
That is,
teruggegaan.
until we got a little
Wat
closer
een rare.
and noticed the putrid smell coming from Chuck's tent. He unzipped it, and we found a dead, rotting rat. It was sickening. I took the hint, and haven't been back to that preserve since.
Gadverdamme. Bro, what the fuck. Ik zou denk ik in mijn broek hebben gepoept. Maar hoe weten wij dat dit echt is gebeurd? Kunnen we dat niet achterhalen? Heb ik daar zin in? Nee.
This ongoing issue started about a month ago, but let me provide some context first. I'm 24 years old and I live with my parents. My family is not well off and never has been, and pretty much all of the money I make goes into supporting the household.
Oei,
My
dat is niet best.
relationship with my parents is not the best.
Dat is ook
We
niet
bicker
best.
quite often. Whenever I'm not working or hanging with friends, I tend to stick to myself. I don't want to write a hard luck story or anything like that, but I've had it tough growing up. Fitness has always been my go-to escape. I see it as a healthy way to get my mind off personal burdens, while also providing a good excuse to leave the house. There's a park about a 10-minute drive from my house that has a workout facility, with bars for pull-ups, dips, and other calisthenic exercises. During the summer months, I like to go there to work out as nature helps calm my mind. I like to go at nighttime because since it's a public park, it tends to get busy during the day. So one night, while my parents were arguing, I decided to slip out of the house to go work out. It was an extremely hot summer night, probably 85 degrees.
Ik weet gewoon dat deze man fucking jacked is.
The house to go work out. It was an extremely hot summer night, probably 85 degrees. I remember breathing in the humid air as I walked from my doorstep to the beat-up white Corolla sitting in our driveway. I started the rickety engine and rolled down the windows as the warm summer breeze flowed through my hair. I arrived at the park and exited my car. I was the only car in the lot. It was probably 10 or 11 p.m. The park was completely empty at this time. The beautiful scenery mixed with the steamy air to create a soothing atmosphere, which is another reason why I like this park so much. It sits on top of a hill that overlooks the downtown area of my city.
Dat is toch tering eng? Als er dan wat gebeurt, dan moet je toch lijpver rennen voordat er weer iets is, zeg maar, waar je hulp kan vinden of zo.
The hill that overlooks the downtown area of my city, which always adds pleasant and sentimental emotions to my evenings. Anyway, I started a set on the pull-up bar. I wasn't really counting the repetitions. When I work out, I just do it till failure. Then take a break and do it a couple more times.
Lekker bro, ik hoor je.
It was somewhere between my sets when I took a break to loosen up my arms. Before I got back on the bar though, an indescribable feeling came over me, and a subconscious urge forced me to turn my head around. Standing literally a foot away from my face was a tall, beaten-looking man.
Ew.
I actually screamed and jumped like 5 feet back.
Ew.
He let out a raunchy, boisterous laugh and apologized, saying he didn't mean to scare me.
Koulo
His
eng.
appearance and mannerisms were extremely eccentric right off the bat, like he was damn near face-to-face with me. He clearly had something wrong with him. I asked him why he was so close to me, and he said he lives here. He explained that he sees me working out here all the time, and asked me if I could teach him.
Wat?
Now, I'm a very non-confrontational type of person, and especially during a time like that, I really just wanted to be left alone.
Ja, hè.
I awkwardly but
Het is
politely
avond,
told
bro.
him I'm just gonna do some pull-ups and leave. I hopped back on the bar and continued my set. His words marinated in my mind. He sees me here all the time?
Ja, what the fuck. Kapot
I
eng,
felt
bro.
the gaze of his eyes burning the back of my neck. But like I said, I'm very non-confrontational.
Hij wordt gewoon gestalkt,
While
gast.
he did make me increasingly uneasy, I didn't really know what to say or do about it. But then, something really weird happened. Right as I was about to finish my set, I heard him mutter my full name. My blood instantly turned cold as I jumped off the bar and slowly backed away.
Bro, als je van iemand hoort die de hele tijd in de gaten houdt als je aan het gymmen bent, toch? In een donker park. En ineens... Cesarhof. Huh? Bro, ik zou die man aankijken, ik zou zeggen pardon.
I said a shaky, what? He didn't respond.
Dat dus.
And instead just stared at me with this crazed, wide-eyed smile.
Exact wat ik zei.
I thought I might have been hearing things. That's how bizarre it was.
Dat zal het zijn,
I
vriend.
started to get an awful feeling in my gut, like something bad was about to happen. Without another word, I decided to quickly walk back to my car and leave. I felt that man staring at me while I retreated, and thankfully he didn't follow me. Before I left the park, though, I took one last look, and I saw him hanging from the bar, attempting to do a pull-up. I watched as he grabbed the bar, tried to pull himself up, and then failed and tried again, in the exact position I was previously in. I swiftly left the park without looking back. The entire ride back, I questioned myself. Did he really say my name?
Wat is dat voor
Was I
rare guy?
hallucinating? I tried to forget about it, and eventually I did. I woke up early the next day to get to work. I work construction and I have to wake up very early before my parents. So I was the first one to notice the unmarked envelope sitting at my front door.
Ja, tuurlijk.
It was addressed to me.
Ja, dat zal
I
best.
picked it up and figured I'd read whatever was inside whenever I had the chance.
Er staat... Oh, what the fuck gebeurt hier dan? Let op mijn woorden. In die brief staat zoiets van... Je had me moeten helpen met het sporten.
It was another sweltering hot summer day, and I took my lunch break early to cool down. I sat in my car while eating my pre-made sandwich and decided to open the envelope. I didn't really know what to expect, but never in a million years did I think I'd find 10 printed photos of me.
Oh,
They
nasty.
were all unknowingly taken. One was of me in
Ik
my
had het
car,
fout trouwens.
one was of me at work, one was of me exercising at the park.
Ew.
I instantly remembered that creepy man from the night
Bro heeft
before.
gewoon een stalker.
Started to feel uncontrollably nauseous. I stared in disbelief as I flipped through the rest of them. One was of my house, and the worst of all was a photo of me sleeping, taken from outside my window. I nearly choked on my food as tears rolled down my cheeks. I felt unsafe. I told my boss a serious issue popped up, and I left work right away. He wasn't happy with me, but I didn't care.
Ja, boeien.
I took a picture of the photos and drove directly to the police station. I gave the police the photos and explained my encounter at the park. I described the man to them, and they said they would look into it. I told my parents about it too, and for the first time in a long time, I actually got some sympathy out of them.
It's like a do not
Oh,
disturb
ik haat dit. Is het niet gewoon een van die
More things
ouders?
started happening though.
Oh nee, het was die kerel van
A
het
couple
park,
nights
sorry.
later, at like 3 a.m., I woke to knocks at the door. I didn't
Ew.
open it, assuming the
Bro,
work.
dat klonk echt koulo eng in mijn koptelefoon. Holy shit.
One day, I found a sticky note pasted to my car window with a heart drawn in Sharpie. I went back to the police
Ew.
to report this, and they said they would open up a stalker investigation. I haven't heard back from them yet. I figured it's hard to build a case without having concrete evidence. This happened about a month ago, and I've been on high alert ever since. My parents are looking for a new home, which is already tough given our financial situation.
Ja, maar ja.
I'll update if anything further happens, but until then, I'll continue to sleep with one eye open.
Gadverdamme, bro. Gadverdamme. Laatste story. Gaan we dan.
This happened to me last summer when I was 22. I wasn't a very outgoing kid at the time. If I ever did anything social, it was because my degenerate friends had somehow dragged me out of the house.
Ik hoor je.
This was one of those times. Well, it was supposed to be.
Oh.
My friend Philip invited me to a house party at like 8 p.m. It was pretty spontaneous, but I had nothing going on, so I reluctantly agreed to go with him.
Fuck bro, kom,
I
we
knew
gaan
he was going to
feesten.
give me crap if I refused. I can't even lie though. The idea of a party, even with strangers, sounded more appealing than being alone. Philip was a few towns over from me, so it made more sense for us to drive separately instead of going together. He gave me the Addy and I was on my way.
Die Eddie.
The literal second I pulled onto the street, Philip bailed at the last minute. Rightfully so, I was super frustrated.
Ja,
How could he
hè.
bail on me like this? There I was, feeling like a complete idiot outside a stranger's house. Annoyed, but...
Bro, ga gewoon naar huis. Ik zeg je heel eerlijk, als je met je mattie naar een feest gaat en je bent bij dat feest en je mattie zegt ik kom niet meer, dan kom ik ook niet meer. Hoe bedoel je? Je blijft nog buiten bij dat huis staan. Ga gewoon weer naar je ossel en ga lekker FIFA spelen of zo.
Annoyed but determined not to waste the night, I decided to go in.
Natuurlijk.
Drove all the way here, I thought. Might as well go inside. I walked up the front steps and knocked on the door. The host, Randy, greeted me warmly. He was instantly likable, charismatic, and friendly without being a douchebag. He introduced me around, and things were actually less awkward than I had anticipated. People were really friendly to me despite not knowing who I was. There were even a few girls I had my eyes on. I decided to enjoy the party and hit the booze. Hard. It was getting pretty late, but the party was still raging. Admittedly, I might have overdone it with the drinking. At one point, I was so nauseous and dizzy that I needed a break.
Ja, dat begrijp
It
ik
must
ook
have
wel.
been close to 2 a.m. at that point. I went upstairs to look for a bathroom, but they were all occupied.
Wat is dit voor eng schilderij? Waarom kan ik inzoomen? Ik kan niet inzoomen. Wat gebeurt er? Dit schilderij, wat is dit voor misvorm dan Michael Jackson, bro?
I went upstairs to look for a bathroom, but they were all occupied. The house was deceptively big. Granted,